Ever get that feeling like someone's watching you a little too closely?
Hmm.
Maybe like there's a shadow lurking just out of sight. Today, we're going to dive into the chilling world of stalking through the story of Di McDonald, a
Yeah.
woman who had to endure 3 years of just relentless harassment from her ex-boyfriend, Max Gardner.
Oh, wow.
You've shared 2 podcast episodes with us detailing her experience, and it's honestly a story that just gets under your skin.
Yeah.
Makes you think twice about, who you meet and how people present themselves.
Absolutely. And I think what's really striking about Di's case is how it kind of dismantles that whole, romanticized meet cute kind of thing.
Right.
In the beginning, Max, he presents himself as this perfect gentleman, showering Di with attention gifts, even going so far as to buy her an air conditioner
Wow.
and, digging a grave for her
It's
dog.
almost like over-the-tots kind of
Yeah,
gesture.
it's over the top, and I think these grand gestures, they're not just acts of kindness, they're very calculated moves, I think, and a classic love bombing strategy.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like he's creating this web of obligation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but you're kidding.
Making Di feel like she's indebted to him in some way.
Right.
And then there are those early red flags,
Mm-hmm.
like throwing a tantrum when she didn't wait for him at the shops,
Mm-hmm.
or demanding that she holds his hand while walking her son to the train station.
Right.
Like, that's not normal
Yeah.
behavior.
No, not at all. Those seemingly small incidents, I think they're really early indicators of Max's need to, exert power and dominance in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when Di ends the relationship after just 3 months, thinking that would be the end of it, that's when the real nightmare begins.
Oh, right. Like a switch flips,
Yeah.
and Max's mask just completely drops.
Exactly.
He starts showing up at her home at work unannounced, leaving her notes,
Yeah.
pleading for her to take him back. And when she contacts the police,
Mm-hmm.
they tell her that she needs to get an intervention order first.
Right.
So for those who aren't familiar with this term, an intervention order is basically a legal document that's supposed to protect someone from harassment or violence.
Right.
But even getting this protection proves to be this uphill battle for Di.
It is. And it's unfortunately a really common and frustrating experience for victims of stalking.
Yeah.
The onus is often placed on them to navigate this really complex legal system to essentially prove they're being harassed before the authorities will even take action.
It's like they're being punished for being a victim.
Exactly.
And it's not just the emotional toll, right? This is like impacting her life in every way.
Mm-hmm.
Max starts this smear campaign, posting defamatory flyers about Di at her workplace,
Wow.
at her social venues, even targeting her friends and family.
It's awful.
He's trying to isolate her, discredit her, make her seem unstable.
Yeah.
It's like psychological warfare.
It is. It's incredibly damaging, and it's designed to, erode Di's support network and make her question her own reality.
Yeah, and you can imagine the constant fear, the feeling of being watched and judged, not knowing where or when he's going to strike next.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dee is forced to change her routine. Install cameras, rely heavily on the support of her neighbors, all while trying to maintain, some semblance of a normal life.
Yeah, and this is all while, the police and the legal system seem to be more concerned with protecting Max's rights
Right.
than ensuring Tree's safety.
Yeah, the initial intervention order doesn't even include a 200-meter safety net around her workplace.
Oh, wow.
The magistrate even argues that Max's right to shop at the same shopping center is more important than Dee's safety.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
It's really mind-boggling. It really highlights how the system can fail to prioritize the victim's well-being.
Yeah.
And this just reinforces that power imbalance that's often inherent in these stalking situations.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury,
Right.
Dee has to represent herself in court multiple times because she can't find a lawyer who doesn't have a conflict of interest with Max.
That's terrible.
It's like the system is rigged against her.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But thankfully, Di's tenacious. She refuses to be silenced,
Good for her.
starts advocating for herself publicly,
Yeah.
and even catches the attention of the shadow police minister at a town hall meeting on public safety.
Wow.
This finally leads to a dedicated detective, Beck Norris, being assigned to her case.
That's great.
And Detective Norris is like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
She's experienced, dedicated, and willing to go the extra mile to really understand the complexities of the case.
And what's really impressive about Norris's approach, I think, is that she doesn't dismiss any of the evidence that Di has, painstakingly gather over the years.
Right.
She meticulously reviews everything, including those countless flyers that Max has been distributing.
Right.
And she even notices that Max doesn't have a printer at his home,
Interesting.
suggesting that he's been using public resources like the local library to produce his defamatory materials.
Wow, so she's really looking into the details.
Yes, very much so.
And remember how Di mentioned Max's distinctive walk due to his back surgery? Well, Norris uses this technique called biomechanics, which analyzes how people move
Wow.
to try and match Max's gait to the CCTV footage.
That's amazing. It shows how she's really thinking outside the box, using these cutting-edge techniques to really expose Max's actions.
Right. It's not just biomechanics.
Mhm.
She also uses forensic linguistics,
Oh, right.
which is like fingerprinting someone's writing style
Yeah.
to link Max to the flyers.
Wow.
And it turns out his writing is exceptionally distinctive, according to a former FBI agent who specializes in this type of analysis.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty compelling evidence.
It is?
It's like the walls are closing in on Max.
Yeah.
But Norris isn't done yet. She secures a search warrant for Max's house, and while he manages to slip away before they arrive,
Oh, no.
she uncovers some incriminating evidence.
Okay.
A balaclava gloves, even a photo of D.I. and her daughter.
Wow.
So this is concrete physical evidence linking Max to the stalking.
Yeah, this is crucial. This is a turning point in the investigation because the discovery of these items provides tangible proof of Max's involvement,
Right.
and it significantly strengthens the case against him.
It's like his carefully constructed facade is finally crumbling.
Exactly. But the question is, what happens when Norris finally confronts Max with all this evidence?
Right.
Does he finally crack under pressure?
Well, we'll have to find out in the next part of our deep dive into Begani McDonald's story.
Well, as we were discussing, Max has this history of kind of playing the victim and deflecting blame. Even in those prior interviews, he consistently portrayed himself as the one being wronged.
It's so infuriating. He's the one terrorizing Dunny, and yet he acts like she's the problem.
Yeah.
Did that tactic work for him this time? Did he manage to talk his way out of trouble again?
Not this time. Detective Norris has really meticulously built a case against him, anticipating those manipulation tactics and using, both traditional and innovative investigative techniques.
So what finally brought Max down? Was it the physical evidence, the expert analysis, or did he finally, slip up and confess?
It was a combination of factors, really. The weight of the evidence was just overwhelming, and I think that forensic linguistic analysis really sealed his fate. But even when faced with this undeniable proof, Max refused to take full responsibility for his actions.
Typical. So he gets charged with stalking, breach of intervention order, and breach of bail. But then some of the charges are reduced and even combined during the legal proceedings. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for Di, feeling like the severity of Max's actions was being minimized.
Absolutely. It's a common experience for victims of stalking to feel like the legal system prioritizes, expediency and efficiency over fully acknowledging the harm they've suffered.
It's like the system is more focused on a tidy resolution than true justice.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, Dree pours her heart out in her victim impact statement, detailing all the physical and emotional trauma she endured, only to have it censored by the prosecutor. How is that even allowed?
It's a delicate balance, that the court has to strike between a victim's right to be heard and those legal considerations, like avoiding prejudicial statements that could unfairly influence the judge or jury. And while it's necessary to ensure a fair trial, it's totally understandable why Drey felt silenced and re-victimized by this whole process.
It just adds another layer of frustration to an already incredibly difficult situation. But despite these setbacks, Drey does get her moment in court. She delivers her impact statement, albeit a censored version, and Max, unable to control himself, lashes out at his own barrister after receiving a surprisingly lenient sentence.
It's a small victory, but a significant one. The court sees Max's true colors, that inability to control his anger and frustration. It really reinforces the fact that despite his attempts to manipulate and deflect, his mask has finally slipped completely.
It's almost like he's undone by his own arrogance and lack of self-awearness.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't end there, right?
Yeah.
Max, being Max, appeals his sentence. So what happens next? Does he manage to, weasel his way out of serving time?
Well, that's where things take a bit of an unexpected turn. During the appeal hearing, the judge challenges the validity of Max's claims of, undiagnosed PTSD, anxiety, and depression conditions that Ironically, Dai herself has been diagnosed with as a result of his stalking.
Oh, the irony. It's like he's trying to appropriate her trauma and use it to his advantage.
Exactly. And the judge sees right through it. She calls him out on this blatant attempt to manipulate the court, forcing him to finally confront the reality of his situation.
So what's the final outcome? Does Max's appeal backfire?
It does. The judge even hints at increasing his sentence, prompting Max to abruptly abandon his appeal and accept the original 8-month sentence. He's finally forced to face the consequences of his actions.
Finally. It's about time he's held accountable. But 8 months still seems incredibly light considering the years of torment he put Day through.
Yeah, you're right. The sentence might seem, disproportionate to the harm inflicted. However, it's important to remember that the judge has access to a wider range of information, including legal precedents, sentencing guidelines, and, mitigating factors that all inform her decision.
I suppose that's true, but it's still hard not to feel like the punishment doesn't quite fit the crime.
I understand that sentiment. However, the fact that Max is finally behind bars, unable to continue his harassment, is a significant victory for Dai. And actually, her ordeal sparks a wave of positive change.
This is where Dai's resilience truly shines. She channels her experience into advocacy, working tirelessly to improve legislation and support systems for stalking victims.
Dai's story highlights the power of turning pain into purpose. She refuses to be defined by her victimhood, choosing instead to use her voice to empower others and advocate for much-needed reforms.
She's a true inspiration. She even pushes for the implementation of a new screening tool for stalking and harassment, appropriately named the SASH tool. This tool will hopefully help police and other agencies better identify and respond to stalking cases.
It's a critical step forward. By providing a structured framework for assessing risk and gathering information, the SASH tool has the potential to significantly improve the way stalking cases are handled.
And it all stems from Dai's determination to ensure that no one else has to endure what she went through. But Dai's story took place before AI was as prevalent as it is today. It makes you wonder, how could AI be used by stalkers in the future?
That's a crucial question and one we need to address. The potential for AI to be misused in stalking scenarios is a serious concern, and we'll delve into that in the final part of our deep dive.
Stay with us as we unpack the implications of AI on stalking and explore how we can protect victims in this rapidly evolving technological landscape. So we've talked about Dai's harrowing experience and her remarkable resilience, but now let's kind of shift gears and think about the future. I mean, Stalker used a tracker on her phone, which is terrifying enough.
Right.
But imagine if he'd had access to the kind of AI tools that we have today.
Oh, it's a chilling thought. I mean, AI really has the potential to supercharge the tactics that we've already seen.
Yeah.
Think about, personalized phishing attacks that are crafted from a victim's social media data or deepfake videos and audio recordings that are specifically designed to discredit them.
Wow.
The possibilities are really disturbing.
It's like something out of a sci-fi thriller,
Right.
but with very real consequences.
Exactly.
And what about the potential for AI-powered surveillance? Could a stalker use facial recognition software to track their victims' movements in real time?
Absolutely. AI-powered surveillance systems are becoming more and more sophisticated and more widespread.
Right.
And in the wrong hands, these systems could create a virtual panopticon, making it nearly impossible for a victim to escape their stalker's watchful eye. It's a scary thought. It feels like we're on the edge of this dystopian world where privacy is non-existent and, stalkers can use technology to exert this unprecedented level of control. So what can we do to protect ourselves in this rapidly evolving digital landscape?
Well, I think awareness is key. We need to educate ourselves about the potential dangers of AI and how it can be misused.
Right.
Understanding how our data can be collected, analyzed, and potentially weaponized is the first step.
Yeah, so being mindful of our digital footprint, strengthening our online security, and being cautious about what we share online are more important than ever.
Exactly. And we also need to advocate for robust regulations and ethical guidelines governing the development and deployment of AI. Holding tech companies accountable for the potential misuse of their products is crucial.
It sounds like we need this multi-pronged approach,
Yeah.
education awareness and proactive legislation. We
Right.
have to find a way to harness the benefits of AI while safeguarding against its potential for harm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Striking that balance is essential,
Yeah.
particularly in the context of stalking. The IT story really reminds us that stalking can have devastating consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And as AI evolves, the methods used by stalkers will likely become even more sophisticated and difficult to detect.
That's why it's so vital to trust your instincts. If you feel threatened, seek help, then There are resources available. Don't hesitate to reach out to organizations that support stalking victims in your area. Remember, you're not alone.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've seen how easily stalking can begin,
Hmm.
how the system can fail victims,
Right.
and the terrifying potential of AI in the hands of a stalker.
But we've also seen incredible resilience. Dai's story is a powerful reminder that we can turn pain into purpose, advocating for change and supporting others who have experienced similar trauma.
Dai's case took years to resolve, partly because the tools and understanding of stalking were still evolving.
Right.
As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we must stay ahead of the curve. We have to address its potential for misuse and ensure that our legal and support systems are equipped to protect victims in this digital age.
It's a challenge we can't afford to ignore. The future of our safety and privacy may very well depend on it.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of stalking and the looming implications of AI. Knowledge is power, and we hope this episode has empowered you to stay safe and informed.